Hello and welcome to Caribbean Content Creators. Today we're talking to Shaun Alexander. He's a co-founder and co-owner at Foodie Nation. And Foodie Nation has a fantastic YouTube channel with over 200,000 subscribers. And in February 2016, Shaun, you all produced your first video on that platform. And since then, you'll have racked up about over 25 million views. So I'm really excited, and I think I'll have a hard time today keeping this topic on track. Forgive my voice, folks. I'm fighting up with a sore throat. But I'm really excited about this conversation because I feel like I want to geek out. I want to talk to you about gear. I want to talk to you about storytelling, about building a business. Earlier when we were chatting, you were talking about legal concerns that content creators should be aware of, and then how you could monetize your channel. So, Shaun, welcome to Caribbean Content Creators.
Thank you for having me, Lyndon.
Yes.
Pleasure to be here. I must say, I am a big fan. I've been following I think it's at least two channels you have. I don't know, your wife has a channel. I've been following for a little while now, a few years. Really enjoy the content. So I'm happy to be here and happy to have this conversation with you.
I really am feeling very nervous. I expressing my true sentiment, and it is a testament to the caliber of work that you're doing. So I didn't do any research for this interview, and I really want to talk to you about your backstory as it relates to getting Foodie Nation, which is loved and admired around the world, started. Tell me about yourself and Foodie Nation.
How far back you want to go?
Man, tell me everything that leads up into Foodie Nation starting.
Right. So I guess I could probably start with my own personal story first, and then I could talk about how Foodie Nation was born. So I have a culinary background. I basically grew up in the food industry. My father and his siblings, they own and operate a bakery with a few outlets across Trinidad and Tobago. Apart from that, my father has been in the restaurant industry. His siblings have all had and have various positions in the food industry. You're talking restaurateurs, directors in large conglomerates, government-owned manufacturers. So I have always had access to the holistic view of the food industry. I think that's a simple way to put it. And then on my mother's side, her family and my father's family has always been centered around food. So everybody in the family cooks. So I grew up around food. While I was having formal training at TTHDI, I worked in my father's bakery. After that, I worked in the food industry. I've done catering before Foodie Nation, and while I was catering was when Foodie Nation was born, and then now I am into food tourism, food marketing. Yeah? How was Foodie Nation born? Foodie Nation was created by myself and two other individuals by the name of Rhett McCarthy and Ryan Jagasa. We are all first cousins. Our mothers are sisters. My mom and Rhett's mom are identical twins. We all grew up together. We all know each other. Rhett and Ryan owned and operated a Carnival-centric social media platform called Carnival Central. This platform would have probably been in operation for about 18 months or maybe 2 years, forgive me, when they decided that they wanted to do food-related content for the platform. Because naturally, tourists want recommendations on where to try local food, what is local food. They reached out to me naturally to do food content. And at the time, we were doing top 10 doubles, top 10 barbecue, top 10 roti places to visit when you come to Trinidad. So I believe we did top 10 doubles first, and that was a hit. It practically went viral. So after a few other videos, we quickly realized that we needed to do something more on the food side. It was no longer sustainable, or it really didn't make sense to continue it under the Carnival Central platform. Because one, I had nothing to do with Carnival Central. So if I was to be a part of it, how would that work? And then two, You don't want to. So effective marketing, effective storytelling is all about effective communication, right? And you wouldn't want to do a food-centric content on a carnival platform, if you understand what I'm saying. So naturally, we knew that it needed its own platform. And that is where Foodie Nation was born.
There's so many things jumping out at me at the same time.
Yeah.
The beauty of it being part of a family that is immersed in the cooking lifestyle. And you come into the story to bring something to Carnival Central. And apart from your cooking skills, is it that you also have a background in video production at this point in time? Was that structure like in terms of creating content for these different channels?
So the reason I'm laughing is because, Lyndon, believe it or not, I don't even know how to upload anything on social media. My background is food. I do that very well, and that's about it.
but you're the guy behind the camera when we pull up the Foodie Nation videos.
Yeah, no.
You behind the camera?
No. I don't even know how to hold a camera straight.
You serious?
No.
You serious? You're serious?
I am dead serious.
So
and I think that is honestly one of the attributes of Foodie Nation, because Rhett McCarthy, he is the one that does all of that. So I know earlier in the story I told you 3 of us started Foodie Nation, right? About 2 years in, we parted ways with Ryan Jagger. So after 2 years to now, to present, it's been Rhett and myself, right? Rhett's background has always been video production, graphic design, photography. He used to, he still does it, but he does mainly Foodie Nation now. But he is a professional photographer, a professional videographer. Since I know Rhett, that's what he's been doing. He used to these nice fancy things up here. I don't even know what you call them. That's to tell you how I don't know anything about all of this, right? He used to make these with cardboard and foil and a regular light bulb. Yeah?
Right, so he's making soft boxes. So Rhett is the guy
He's
behind
the guy.
the camera. He's doing the video editing.
Everything.
If I see a video with Uncle Clyde or Shanti, or your most recent video where you're visiting is it Cook Farm it's called?
Correct.
Yeah. So Rhett is the guy behind the camera.
Rhett is the guy.
All right. So tell me a little bit about your role in Foodie Nation.
Right. So on paper, I handle the day-to-day. I am the chief operations officer. I do all the day-to-day stuff. I handle all the legal stuff. Quite frankly, I basically do everything that he doesn't do, and he basically does everything that I don't do. Why I say it like that is because in business, Lyndon, you had to pull up your socks and do it. Yeah? There are many things that I have never done prior to Foodie Nation that I do now. I was never into marketing. I was never into communication. I have no formal training, but I do all of that now. I've never been into production. So even though I'm not holding the camera, I am basically the executive producer of these shoots. Follow what I'm saying? But prior to Foodie Nation, I've never done it. And why I'm explaining it like this is because that's business and that's life. You know what I mean? We are very comfortable being uncomfortable. You know, because I was born into food and Rhett has always done this. It's a lifestyle for us. It's not, yes, it's a business. Yes, we have to approach it from a business standpoint, but we also have to have fun doing it. So we're open. You know what I mean? It's not like there are set roles and responsibilities of each of us. But yes, to answer your question in short, I handle all the day-to-day. I mean, you use Cook Farm as an example. Let me use that feature as one example. My role in that would be to find these stories. So my mission is I go all over Trinidad and Tobago and I find and seek out people like that. Yeah? Put my ears to the ground, talk, check my Rolodex, ask, inquire, investigate, find these people, get a contact, make contact, go and meet them physically. If they say no, convince them to say yes. hear their story, convince them to tell their story. Because, you know, in Trinidad and Tobago, yes, social media is all over the place, but, you know, culturally, we are very apprehensive to come in front of camera. So my job with regards to like feature videos and things like that is to get these people, to convince them to come on camera and get them to not only trust me, but trust the process. I mean, people say that I am a people person. I could probably talk to anybody. So that would be one of my main roles in Foodie Nation.
Yeah, and the reason this conversation is so interesting to me is I am talking to you from the point of view of a solo creator. You know, I would randomly come across different stories, but here it is. Foodie Nation is a media company.
Yeah.
This is not an individual creator. This is you rent different people that you have on the team, you're outsourcing. So for instance, when we see a feature that includes another content creator, right, that you all may have worked with, like they're doing the filming, you all have worked with JD. You all have worked with, I've seen Jason Peru on some of your videos. What does that model look like when you all feature other content creators, for example?
Sure. So we have on Foodie Nation various series. We do recipe videos. We do foodie finds where we visit food establishments. We do features. You spoke about cook farms. That would fall under the feature series where we feature these farms and give them the opportunity to tell their story. So for foodie finds, for example, where we have JD and other hosts for the recipe videos where you would have seen, you said Jason or even we have many other chefs that come on Foodie Nation as well. All of these persons are treated as contractors. We handle all production and they are treated as a contracted co-host because with content, we retain all ownership of the content. We have sole creative control of the content. All these co-host / contract contributors, they would basically sign an agreement to do X, Y, Z, and they are paid for their services.
And they would pitch the ideas to you, or you would?
No, we would pitch the idea to them. So we would have an idea. If you were to use JD as an example, why would Foodie Nation have somebody like JD on its platform? So with Foodie Nation and with any other platform, at least I would think, you have to always be cognizant of your demographic. Food content has a specific demographic, a core demographic for anything food. That demographic is predominantly female between the ages of 25 and 45. That's gender. Apart from that, you also have financial demographics. You will have low, middle, high income earners. Then you may have personality demographics. You would have people who would prefer a host that they could relate to in their own terms, on their level of, on their class level or their personality level, etc., etc. So we always have to be cognizant of that. So when selecting co-hosts, contracted contributors, a big decision maker is our demographic. So you would have persons like JD who might be a little more downtown, a little more down to earth. He will serve a specific demographic. You will have another person who will serve a more uptown demographic. Follow what I'm saying?
Yes, I follow, yeah.
Yeah, so that is how we would go about, I don't want to say collaborating because it's a paid service. They're not really collaborating in any sense. They are being paid to perform a service. So that is how we would go about selecting these persons. But we are the ones who conceptualize the idea. We select individuals to fit our idea. We produce all the content. We retain sole ownership and sole creative control of all of our content. Because with content, remember, there are many ways you can monetize content. You could do content syndication. We would do recipe videos for brands. They will pay us to put their product in the recipe, use it, highlight it, show it throughout the video. But there are other ways you can monetize that too. That's one way of monetizing it. They might want to use it in a grocery activation to put it on a screen in the grocery. That's my content. You have to pay me for that. They might want to put it in the CPL and use it as an ad. That's mine. You have to pay me for that. Yeah, these are all real life examples I'm giving you, right? They might want to put it on the radio. They might want to put it on the news. Here, I'll give you an example with extra fruits. Years ago, we did a grocery giveaway with extra fruits, and these videos went viral to the point where they have it up in all their screens in the groceries. They had it on TV6. Okay, great. But you got to pay me for that because it's my content. These are some of the things I'm happy to talk about because, again, a lot of people look at content for vanity metrics. And for those of you who don't know what vanity metrics is, I'm talking about views and likes. We at Foodie Nation, we never focus on vanity metrics. You focus on engagement and you focus on monetization. Monetization is not a driving force to create. We always let our creative minds create. And then we try to balance it out with a monetization framework.
I really am enjoying this conversation because what you bringing here to the table is this idea of how do I think about it from a legal point of view. I was stunned when you started talking about if you're putting this up on a grocery screen, you're playing this on radio, this is my content. Because the way I have treated when sponsors approach me in the past is I would just look at, hey, this is a particular video. I make it for you. I charge you for my services. And then you're almost free to do with it as you like. If you do something, a sponsor approaches you. I'm wondering about even the content of the legal paperwork when you enter an agreement with a sponsor. And you could go into that in terms of like what some of the elements are. What some of the factors you considering to say that this piece of content is worth X amount?
Yeah, so to start with what you said first, right? So when you spoke about entering an agreement without knowing or without having full knowledge, this isn't directed at you, but that is an ignorant way to enter something because you have to educate yourself on it. You watch football? You into sports at all?
No sports.
I'll use football as an example, right? When a footballer is negotiating or his team is negotiating a contract to move from one club to a second club, they negotiate payment, but another thing they negotiate, which I'm not sure how much people even know about this, is image rights. You ever heard anybody talk about image rights?
Never, no.
I don't even hear anybody in Trinidad talking about that, except for probably us with Foodie Nation. If you do a video for a brand and you charge X, you charge $10 for that video, and you give them permission to use that video after you've done it, you're selling yourself short. We at Foodie Nation, when we do work for persons, it is legally structured in writing that you are paying us, Lyndon Baptiste is paying us X to be featured in one or how much ever Foodie Nation videos. Below that, Foodie Nation retains sole ownership of said content. It's a lot longer than that too, but I'm just saying it in short, right? So immediately that person understands that one, they are not paying us for a video. Because unfortunately, you have a lot of dishonest people here who they know very well how to come at you. So they will say, yeah, I want to pay X to put us in one of your videos. And then after you do the video, hey, by the way, you could send me that video. Sure, no problem. You not knowing, or they might say, hey, a real good news for you. We want to put a video in CPL. Wow. You looking at, wow, my video going to be on CPL. Okay, great. But you just basically sold that video to them. We at Foodie Nation, you pay us to be featured in a video. You're not paying us for the video because that's two totally different things you're talking about, Lyndon. If you're talking about being featured on my platform, why are you paying me to be featured on my platform if I can't get the video? You're paying me for access. You're paying me for access to my followers, and you're paying me for me to put my stamp of approval on your product. Because if Foodie Nation endorses your product, that carries weight. If I have 10 subscribers and you're paying me to endorse your product, it carries weight because these 10 subscribers would look at this product differently. If they subscribe to you, if they follow you, if they are real followers, we're talking about influencer marketing here, right? I have influence over these 10 subscribers, which means you need to pay for that. It's as simple as that. If you want the video, That's a whole separate thing. You're talking about paying for production. Follow what I'm saying? So it's two totally separate things, which unfortunately, persons are, I don't know, maybe unwilling to educate themselves on this. And these relevant companies they are well aware of what they are doing. And the marketing agencies are well aware of what they are doing. But these, unfortunately, local influencers and persons who trying to monetize social media effectively, they need to educate themselves on all these things. And then further to that, you're talking about content syndication. If you want to use my video for a grocery activation, a sample activation, put it in CPL. If you didn't have my video, Lyndon, and you had to go and create a video to put it in CPL, how much would that have cost you? I just gave you that for free. That makes absolutely no sense. And I'm not reinventing the wheel here. When we're talking about content syndication and licensing, this is a normal thing. You know, why does Seinfeld still run? It's content syndication. It's a licensing agreement that they have, which is why the owners of the show Seinfeld could still monetize it today after it's been produced. I don't know how much ever decades ago.
So tell me a little bit about how you educated yourself. Where you finding material like that to educate yourself? Is it necessary to have lawyers involved in this process? What that looks like at Foodie Nation?
Right. So at the beginning, I mean, unfortunately, we weren't financially able to hire attorneys and strategists and confidants, to lend advice to us. But we just use the University of YouTube, because at the end of the day, knowledge is free. I mean, you have Google on your phone, you have YouTube, you have all these various platforms that you could use that are right in your phone, that you could just take the time to educate yourself. And then further to that, you had to burn to learn, you had to get burned to learn. So, I mean, all these things I'm talking about, these things have happened to us. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it as if from day one we were doing this. This is how we learned.
Without getting into details and actual names, I should say, was one of the biggest burns you've suffered?
There was one time a specific brand had reached out to do a certain deal. And because that deal was not under contract, they pulled out halfway through. So we did X amount of work. We were paid for the work we did. And then they basically said that they wanted to press pause on the rest of the work. Now, today, I would never enter an agreement like that. That agreement would, for you to even talk to me, you need to sign an NDA. Then we could have a conversation. And then anything we agree to do has to be in writing.
Is there an initial cost to chatting with Foodie Nation, for example?
No. We're not so big yet. That'll be good.
Yes, no, because I wonder in terms of like my time as a content creator, balancing it with my day-to-day jobs, and should I be thinking about you want to meet and chat about your brand? And I love what you shared, Shaun, in terms of you are paying to be featured. You are not paying for that content. And I know it's difficult to call actual figures, and I kind of moving back and forth in the conversation here. A brand probably sees some potential. They approach me for sponsorship. And the biggest question on any content creator I've spoken to, whether they're on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, is, how do I price my services? And is there anything you could share in terms of like the early days of Foodie Nation and how you all came about setting your fee structure for working with you all?
Sure. So for us, I'll answer this in two ways, right? Because for us, it's a little different. And I'll explain that a little later. But like any other industry, Lyndon, there are ways you can go about setting your price. For an influencer, you would do it by how much followers you have. That has to be factored in. How much engagement you have, that has to be factored in. But the reality is, Lyndon, in any industry, the market sets itself. Yeah? So we might want to price ourselves a certain way, but the reality is the market says different. And then what does not help is when competitors underprice themselves. Follow what I'm saying? So how did we set a price? The market set that price. We did not set that price. We put out feelers, and the market said we'll pay X. And since day one, we've used the market rate to adjust accordingly. Fortunately for us, we have a certain level of engagement, and we are monetized on all our platforms. So we no longer have to really follow market rate because it is not a primary source of income. Yeah, because we're monetized. But I completely understand where you're coming from when you talk about other content creators who may not be monetized on these platforms and who may prefer influencer marketing only. There's some persons who would prefer that too, or who might charge in products, which I am firmly against. But
I am against that too.
But I can't tell people what to do.
You receive a product.
Yeah.
You do a review of it.
Yeah. We don't do that at all.
Yeah.
We don't do that at all. But what I would say is, it would be great if persons would believe in their product and say no a couple times, because no usually leads to yes. But unfortunately, we all live under different financial circumstances and different forms of living, I would say. So some of us may not be able to say no. But what I would say is, if I charge $100 and Foodie Nation is on the upper echelon in terms of food marketing, and you doing food marketing, so you say, well, Foodie Nation bigger than me, so if Foodie Nation charging 100, maybe I should charge 50. Without realizing it, you are undercutting yourself, because in 6 months, I have 100 followers, you have 100 followers, somebody's going to come up with 25 followers and undercut you. Because at the end of the day, most of the brands have a budget to work with. So the reality for these brands is some brands simply cannot afford Foodie Nation. So they may have no choice but to go by Lyndon. But influencers need to understand something. If you think you are being competitive by underpricing yourself, you're not. And if you think you have no choice but to charge what you think the market is telling you deserve, you're wrong. Because at the end of the day, in 6 months, in 18 months, you'll be out of business. Which is why most of these persons, Rhett and I have been in this for well over 7 years. So Lyndon, I could tell you, every 6 months, we see somebody come up, and in 6 months, we no longer hear about them. There are persons, I'm not going to call names, who would actively find out how much we charge and undercharge us. There have been instances where a brand would reach out to us, and then we know, because we keep our ears to the ground. We are in this industry, right? So we know everybody. Everybody knows us in the food industry. It's not difficult for me to find out what somebody's budget is, what somebody's charging. It's not difficult for me to get information. Yeah? So at the end of the day, I have many stories of Lyndon finding out my price and going to the same brand and saying, hey, Foodie Nation charging you X, I will charge you Y. But understand something, you're not helping yourself when you do that. Because one, you are not approaching it from a business standpoint. You're thinking like a hustler when you think like that. If you have a product, believe in your product. Sell your product. Yes, everybody may not come your way. But if you do like what we did in the first few years of Foodie Nation, we wasn't making any money in Lyndon. We started Foodie Nation with our own personal money that we took out 3 or 4 years into Foodie Nation. That we took back out, we paid back ourselves, right? But all those years, every single cent stayed in the business. If somebody came to us with a project, the money stayed in the business. We build the business, sacrifice. We were all still doing our previous jobs and doing Foodie Nation. It's only now Rhett and I are full-time into Foodie Nation because the business can now sustain us. So we earn a salary, etc. So we pay taxes, pay NIS, all these lovely things, right? but it wasn't. It was done through sacrifice. Yeah. So when we were started, I'll give you one example of sacrifice. When we started Foodie Nation, we used to boost a lot of our content on Facebook and Instagram. Why did we do that? You know, a lot of people were upset about that. They were like, why you all boosting content? You know, we probably had like, I don't know, 80,000 followers there or something like that. But again, Foodie Nation is a business to us. So we approached it from a strategic standpoint. At the beginning of any business, the goal is to build your business. The goal is not to make money. Any business professional will tell you, if your business is 3 years old and you break even, you've done well. The goal should never be to immediately take money out of your business. So our sole focus was to build the business. So what it is now.
And you'll have done amazing work. The vanity metrics reflect that. You sitting here being able to see that this is what you're doing full time is truly an accomplishment. I want to kind of go back to something that you said in terms of, you know, eventually, I know usually leads to a yes. You said that a little bit earlier. You're married 2 years now. How many times you asked before your wife said yes? And wait, that would put you to being married in 2021.
Yeah. How much times I asked her to get married?
Yeah.
Once.
And what was your full-time job while you were working on Foodie Nation from the get-go?
Right. So I used to cater. So I was a full-time caterer.
You're still involved in that business in any capacity?
Zero. No.
You miss it?
No.
And how many videos have you actually appeared in for Foodie Nation?
Me, myself?
Yeah.
Not much, you know, because when we started Foodie Nation, I don't think I appeared in anything. It's only of late, within the last few months, last 2-3 months, I have started to appear in content. Yeah. But when I say appear, I'm talking about my face. From day one in Foodie Nation, all of the recipe videos that you would have seen with hands, those are my hands. So my face hasn't been in Foodie Nation over the first 6.5 years, but my hands have always been in Foodie Nation in the recipe videos.
And what I would do, folks, is I would link to one of those videos in the description down below so that you could go check it out. So somewhere around maybe April, May, you started your feast. You were appearing in videos. And what's guiding that decision? What's the reasoning behind that to say, okay, it is time for Shaun to begin appearing in these videos?
So like with anything else, you evolve or become extinct. So with any business, you're always evolving your business. You're always growing your business. You're always not redefining your business, but you're always upgrading your business. So with that, we realized about 12 to 18 months ago, we realized that with regards to influencer marketing and marketing in general across the board, persons want to go beyond the product. They want to hear the story about the product. They want to see how it's being made. They want to meet or interact with ownership, management, that kind of thing. They want that behind the scenes look. Yeah, they want that behind the scenes look. So because of that, Rhett and I made the decision to come out from behind the camera, if you will, and come in front of the camera, tell our story, help persons understand that we are the two persons behind Foodie Nation, show them that we live that lifestyle. We're not just talking about food. We're not just creating beautifully produced content. We live that. Rhett has been doing this since I've known him. I have been in foods since forever. By doing that too is almost like a stamp of approval, if you will, you know, to kind of maintain that authenticity. Because unfortunately, you see a lot of people now calling themselves influencers, but they don't even know how to boil water. You know, if we're talking about food here, right? So if you're talking about food influencers, how can you be a food influencer but you don't even know how to cook rice or, stew a chicken. Follow what I'm saying? So by doing this, we're letting people into our lives. They get to meet us, see our personal side. They get to see our story, kind of follow us day to day. So with us being on social now, outside of Foodie Nation on our own personal platforms, they get a in-depth look at our lives. So for instance, they get to see me with my dogs or me with my wife and me with my family. They get to see Rhett enjoying his stuff and, flying the drone and, showing all these things, all these personal things that we are personally into, but also just so happen to be aligned with Foodie Nation because Foodie Nation is a lifestyle for us. We are not just doing this for money. We do this because this is a part of our life. We do this every single day. So like, I'm not sure if you followed my personal platform, but you would see on Just Shaun TT, I always cooking with my mom or my sisters or my brother and with my dogs because that's what we do. Every Sunday we cook home. you know what I mean?
What I would do, folks, is I would put the links to their personal pages. This would be Instagram and TikTok down in the show notes, right? And it's curious to hear this, because here I am working along as a solo content creator. And in the background, I'm thinking, you know what? To sustain what I do is almost like you have to build a media company, something like what Foodie Nation has, right? But from your point of view, you have Foodie Nation, you have the media company, and it's like you're working now backwards to become also a solo creator through your TikTok, through your Instagram, because it is going to support the business aspect of it. So it's like this kind of balancing act that the content creator has in terms of, I need to be able to produce content, the features like what you all have, excuse me, but I also need to show that human side. And how has coming out, so to say, how has that changed the face of business and Foodie Nation since you're doing your personal work like that?
Yeah, so I mean, from my own personal standpoint, it's been great. I mean, from Foodie Nation standpoint, it's worked. It's working. Yeah, let me just say it's worked. It's working. From my own personal standpoint, it's been great because at the end of the day, we've gotten messages, we've received and continue to receive comments and messages of persons saying, "Oh my God, I'm so happy to finally get to meet one of the persons in." So again, I'm using myself as an example. One of the persons behind Foodie Nation. So happy to see your wife and your family and your dogs, etc., etc. For me, it's been an experience because I have never been on social media prior to January 2023. I've never been on social media. I've never had a social platform, a personal platform, anything like that. And I mean, for me, it's been great. I mean, fortunately enough, it's clearly resonating because I have about 20,000 on TikTok, 50,000 on Instagram.
Congratulations.
About 16,000 on Facebook. I mean, not that like I use that to fill my head, but I mean, it's been great. It's been real. It's been very positive. It's been very humbling. And also it's one way it's helped Foodie Nation is that, again, because of, or one of the downsides to having so much different faces on Foodie Nation and all these co-hosts / contract contributors was that we were never able to personalize Foodie Nation. And it's tricky because Foodie Nation is a brand, it's not a person. But with a personal brand, you are able to do a lot more. It's a lot, you could bring out a lot more emotion and humility and effective viewer in a much more psychological way by operating from a personal platform. But whereas you have a brand, as in Foodie Nation, because Foodie Nation is not a person, right? It's a brand. It's a lot trickier because you have to let the product do all the work for you and not the person, if you understand what I'm saying. So with Foodie Nation from day one to now, we've always focused on the content and let the content speak for itself. For me to really explain that, like, I'll have to go in super detail, but I mean, that's probably the simplest way I could explain it to you. And we're going into like production and creation here when we talk about these things.
So can we focus, for example, on the storytelling aspect?
Sure.
So you all do you talk about part of your journey being, or your responsibility is that I would find these stories, I would chat with people, make them comfortable with the projects that we're doing, and then they agree to the feature, right? We were talking about storytelling earlier on in terms of bringing out certain emotions, in terms of being able to connect with someone. You feel happy, you feel sad. You do recipe videos, and if I am doing a feature, I'm a food vlogger listening to this interview, for example. What is the recipe for a good feature video or a good food vlog? Is it just about the food that is taking place? How do I want to I just want to make a better food video. I'm making a curry chicken and rice and pigeon peas. Tell me a little bit about storytelling and what you all bring to the table.
I don't even think about food when we going into these features. You really want to focus on the story. Remember earlier we spoke about focusing on the story and on the product and letting the product speak for itself. If we have a host who is interviewing we had a food spot, we're talking about the food spot. You really want to ask questions to get the owner, operator to do all the talking. If I have the host doing 90% of the talking, then it's going to be focused on the host. Whereas I want it to stay on the story. I don't want anybody to think about the host. Yes, they will think about the host, right? But you want to craft your questions in a way where you could, one, focus on the story, and two, get emotion or bring emotion into the video, bring humility into the video, impact the viewer psychologically, because effective marketing is effective storytelling. But how am I going to get a stranger to tell me their story on camera, worst of all? Because a camera makes everybody nervous, right? It's for some reason, a camera just kind of stitch up your mouth. You almost don't want to talk. So how am I going to pull these words out of you? I have to structure the questions in a way where I could get you to talk. So I have to get you to relax. And then also, hopefully, once I get you to relax, I could then get you to add some emotion to the answers. So maybe your story is okay, I'll use a real life example. There was this burger place we visited. In chatting with him, he was giving us the story that he started it at home. So I asked him, what are one of the downsides, or like what was one of your low points in this business? And he said that his biggest low point, his biggest, not regret, but the most unfortunate thing for him was that his father did not live to see the business leave his home and open up permanent brick and mortar. And immediately when he said that, I could see the change in his body. I could see the emotion. I could see the water coming into his eyes. So by reading body language, I know to follow up because I've never met this man. I've never spoken to him before we film, right? This was a rare occasion when I've literally never interacted with you, Lyndon. So I am meeting you for the first time and we just having a conversation. How the hell am I going to get you to cry on camera or open up to me? I'm a complete stranger to you. So the minute he said that, I saw the change in body language. So then I automatically know, follow up, ask certain questions. See, what would your father say now? If he was right here, what do you think he'll say? He answered, and you could tell. So little tricks like that,
So do you have a framework that when you're approaching that interview or one of your features that well, hey, I want to touch a little bit on family life, future ambitions, the role of children, a wife. I struggle with that. I would love to do one interview like this per day, but in terms of being like a one-man show and being able to plan the questions is a little bit tricky and challenging for me. So I'm wondering, one interviewer to another, do you have a framework of interview questions that you would use?
Yeah, definitely. And how I go about creating these questions is from a creative standpoint. So for one, you want to structure it in a way where you're not getting one-word answers. That's one. For sure, you don't want one-word answers because then you will be doing all the talking. And then two, you want to bring emotion into the video because, again, you're interacting with a stranger. So how do I get this person to firstly calm down, relax, talk to me, open up, be vulnerable in front of a stranger on a camera? How am I getting somebody to do that? So that is how I would approach it. From then, I would do research and figure out how could I structure questions to achieve my goals. And the questions are not cookie cutter questions. It's not something that I will literally just ask in a particular order or ask the same questions to every individual. No. Create the questions or create a framework, as you call it, adjust accordingly. So meet you. Hopefully we would have chatted before we came to film. So I have an idea of you so that when we chat, I could then know what order to ask, where to start. Should I ask, are you very analytical? Are you going to give me these politically correct answers? Are you going to give me one-word answers so I could then know how am I attacking Lyndon? Do I know that I have to drag words out of your mouth? How do I do that with you? Do I follow up? Because, for instance, I'll give you an example. If I know I have to pull words out to you, normally we would do the interview first. We would still do the interview first and expect the one-word answers. And then when we start to film you doing everything, I'll do the interview again. But you wouldn't know I'm interviewing you because you're relaxed. For one, your focus is on what you're doing. So if you're making pizza, you focus on making pizza. And then I'll start to talk, hey, Lyndon, so, yeah, boy, how this rain bothering you, boy? Yeah, boy, Shaun, boy, oh, God, I can't take this rain with deliveries. Oh, yeah. So how you was able to purchase that car? Well, the pizza business, a sacrifice, a save, etc. Yeah, boy, how your kids and thing going? They good, one in primary school. So how is feel to, be able to have a business to support your kids financially? You stop one time, then, you might see their eyes start to water. And then by then they might realize what I'm doing because I would mix it. I will talk to you informally and then throw in a question there, because again, after get you to relax, I have to get you to answer my questions.
So you relaxed right now, Shaun?
Yeah, I am very relaxed.
Yeah, I have remained nervous throughout this entire conversation speaking with you. So
believe it or not, Lyndon, I don't mean to interrupt you, but believe it or not, I kind of thrive well under pressure. I don't really get nervous. I want to say it is because of working in the food industry. It's a very stressful environment to work under, especially if you're working in the commercial food industry. If you're working in a factory or a very busy kitchen, you learn to work under stress. So maybe that's why I just don't get nervous.
You have any kind of ambitions to return to the industry one day?
Well, funny enough, Lyndon, since I started my own personal platforms, people are begging me and my mom in particular to do like a pop-up or event because whenever we cook on Sunday, we will film it and we would put out the videos of us cooking together in the kitchen. And that has turned into high demand. Persons want to taste our food. So who knows? Maybe.
And you see you thrive well under pressure.
I would like to think so, yeah.
How are you enjoying marriage?
Marriage is good. Oh God, I love that. I love that question.
But even in terms of like marriage and your work as a content creator, well, the business aspect of it, has the face of your creativity, your journey changed since marriage? Because I'll tell you why I'm asking that question. I'm thinking about even us having children and how it influences your thinking as a father and maybe even in terms of the nature that the content that you're putting out and the responsibility that you have. So are there any kind of noticeable changes, or what has changed in terms of being married and the support, like the role of a spouse with our content creation? What that is like for you?
It's been nothing but positive. I would say that after getting married, after signing on the dotted line, it has grounded me a bit more. I've always been family centric, but I'm almost even more family centric now. That factors into a lot of the decision making, which is also why I'm happy Rhett and I did decide to come out of the shadows, because I am very big on family and certain other core values that Rhett is also big on. I mean, I don't want to speak for him, but he also comes from a very tight-knit, we come from a very tight-knit family. And unfortunately, nowadays, you really don't see much people promoting that kind of lifestyle. You know, Lyndon, so for that, I mean, that's a little pet peeve of mine on my personal platform to promote that lifestyle, because that's the lifestyle we live. That lifestyle is a big reason Foodie Nation is as successful as it is, because our entire family has supported us from day one to now. I mean, in the earlys, we would broadcast the videos on WhatsApp, and it's our family members who still to this day, they share all the content, comment, they fully endorse our content, they wear all our merch. So all the marriage did was like further solidify that for me. Has it changed the creative decisions? That was the question. From day one to now, I'll speak for myself, I have always made decisions from a creative aspect and never a competitive aspect. The problem, I think, with decision making from a competitive aspect is you lose that creative drive, because now I'm not thinking about being creative. I'm thinking about how could I one-up Lyndon? And that never works in my framework, because a lot of people like will meet us in the public and be like, how are y'all still relevant? How y'all still get all this engagement even to this day? So much people have come doing what y'all doing and they cannot achieve what y'all have achieved. And that's the answer. I approach everything from a creative aspect. Fortunately for me, my wife is very supportive. She's actually the one who records all of my personal content and edits it with her day job. I don't know how she does that, but she has been willing to do it. She was one of the driving forces behind me going on social media. Without her, Lyndon, I really don't know how I would be able to do that.
Wow, you know, you make my paws raise, because it's the same type of relationship that I have with my wife, and it's fantastic when you're doing something you have the support of your spouse. That's amazing to know that she's doing the recording in the background, she's doing the editing, and is building your. Is there anything, Shaun, that we haven't touched on or spoken about that could benefit our content creator that you would like to chat about?
I think it's important to make certain sacrifices. One thing I would say with Rhett and I, we made the sacrifice early on to register our business in Trinidad, trademark your brand, your product, your name, whatever you could trademark. If you could legally trademark it. And also, we are monetized on Facebook, on Meta, because we registered the business in the US. And that was a big financial sacrifice for us. But I mean, looking at it now, it's one of the best decisions we ever made. Because at the time, I, for one, was like, how are we going to pay for this? You know, because we are talking thousands of dollars. So it cost us more money. To be clear, it cost us more money because we went through a tax attorney. We decided to hire an attorney in the US to handle everything for us. Locally, we did the same thing too. So it costs more, but you have a legal mind guiding you along the way. You have to pay for that, right? That's not free. Because of that, we were able to make the smart decisions. Yes, it costed more, but in the long run, it paid off immensely, because we didn't have to fix any mistakes. We didn't have to spend more time doing it. We didn't do anything, to be frank. locally and internationally. All we did was sign and pay. You
And,
understand
and,
what
and by
I'm saying?
making that decision, has it opened doors to working even with sponsors abroad?
The power of social media is that I don't need to leave Trinidad to get work outside of Trinidad. Believe it or not, brands reach out to us from all over the world, right here in Trinidad and Lyndon. Quite frankly, they're actually surprised that we live in Trinidad and operate in Trinidad because they're like, hold on, y'all doing this from Trinidad and Tobago? They can't believe that. They think we operate in the US because of the level of work. Fortunately, fortunately for us, our product has done most of the work for us, where our product kind of sells itself. So we're able to grow the business like that. So we do a lot of work for brands who may not, for example, they may not have a physical presence in the Caribbean. They may not have, or they may now be looking into tap into the Caribbean market. We would liaise with their South American office or Latin American office, as they would call it, or the North American office or your European office. We do that all the time. We do that for brands that have a physical presence in Trinidad and Tobago, but realize that for certain things, they cannot rely on the local marketing agency because, and some people might get vexed with me for saying this, but locally, we do not adhere to modern marketing methods. So there are a lot of deals we've done for, I'll call names. We've done work for Coca-Cola, for Axion, so Axion is owned by Colgate, right? We've done work for them. We've done work for a few others where these two brands that I've called have a physical presence in Trinidad. They have a local marketing agency that does their work in Trinidad. But because they know that, how to say, they operate from a local cultural standpoint. Because with effective marketing, you obviously have to understand cultures, right? Because obviously what might work in Trinidad wouldn't necessarily work in America or wouldn't necessarily work in Guyana, example, right? But what we have a hard time in Trinidad selling or pitching is that we have a presence anywhere in the world. On social media, I could reach anybody. It's easy for me to tap into analytics and make them work for me. We have followers all over the world. So when you come to Foodie Nation, you're not only going to market a product in Trinidad and Tobago. Unfortunately, locally, persons fail to understand this. I don't know why. But thankfully, internationally, these individuals understand this. So when they reach out to us, they understand our real reach. And two, they also understand that you can't approach a brand like Foodie Nation and tell them what to do. This is another misconception locally. You can approach a brand like Foodie Nation and tell them how to create the content. We obviously have a recipe that works, and these first world brands and first world nations, and they understand that. Unfortunately, locally, brands would reach out and they want to tell you what to do, how to do, and when to do it. I'll give you an example. If I do recipe videos and I post it every Friday, you have your product and you pay me to feature the product in a recipe video, but you're telling me you want to release it on a Monday. I then have to waste time convincing you that changing the date and changing the time will negatively affect my algorithm, because my followers understand, and the algorithms of the various platforms understand, that I release certain content on a certain day at a certain time. The time is not decided by me. It's decided by the algorithms. I would tap into these algorithms and these platforms to figure out when is the best time to release said content. So when you want to tell me what day and time to release it, it's only going to negatively affect you. And I now have to convince you of that. Where if you really knew what you was doing, you would know to leave me alone and just let me do my thing because it works. Follow what I'm saying?
I follow what you're saying, and it's a key takeaway for me as a content creator. in terms of, kind of dictating the piece. I know the recipe. I know what works with my audience. And also what you shared a lot earlier on in terms of the, oh my goodness, I don't know why this happened to me. What you shared earlier, this is the second time I literally blank out. Earlier I had this real major blank out on Shaun. And Shaun was just sitting down there sipping his water. He drink water for about 2 minutes until I catch myself. In terms of the paperwork that we should have as a content creator, that you are paying to be featured on the channel, versus this isn't your property. And if you are sharing it in different spaces, there's a cost attached to it. So that is another major takeaway from me there. Excuse me.
Are you blank out again now?
Have you experienced that? You go on your interviews and that it's just not flowing the way that you would like it to, or you're blanking out? I did that
No,
2 out of in one shot.
I don't think I ever blanked out so much.
This is the first time, the dreadest blank out that I ever suffered on 2 occasions. Thank God for the power of editing.
Yeah, correct.
So in closing, Shaun, I really do appreciate everything that you've shared in terms of the legal aspects, monetization, the paperwork that should be there, and you dictating your piece because you know your target audience. In Trinidad and Tobago, what are some of the things that you would like to see more among content creators? What was some, for instance, we were talking earlier about how content creators might be undercutting the market. Do you think
undercutting
themselves, right? Do you think there's a need for content creators or space that they could come together and say these are the guiding principles that we should have when it comes to monetization? I'm just using that as an example. But is there anything you would like to see among content creators doing more of or doing less of? Yeah, particularly food vloggers.
Well, so I'll prefer to answer the question across all content creators. But for me, the biggest thing would be for persons to believe in their product and say no. There's nothing wrong with saying no, because saying no usually leads to yes. Meaning, if you say no a couple of times and establish a certain level of professionalism and a standard and a certain list of criteria to which you abide by, usually the market, as long as you continue to stay relevant and continue to get your numbers, the market will come to you. Yeah, so if you're custom charging, or if persons are custom charging you $1,000, I'll just use that as an example, $1,000, and you are of the view that you have no choice but to take the $1,000, you're thinking wrong. Stop thinking like that, because you're undercutting yourself, you're undercutting your competitors, you're undercutting the industry as a whole. If you know you have a product, and if you know your product is going to work, believe in it, charge accordingly, and take it from there. To me, that would be my biggest piece of advice. If your goal is to reach a certain figure, and you are of the view that in 2 years I'll reach that figure, but I have to start at 1/10, you're never going to reach that figure, because this is a very small community. It's not difficult for me to find out that you did a job for X amount of money. What you don't realize is that when you say yes to those things, you become pigeonholed. Because it's not difficult for persons to find out, yeah, Shaun is only accept $10, Dope. You mad? Offer him $20? You crazy? He will take $10. And that's what happens. That's the reality. So that would be my biggest piece of advice. Believe in your product, believe in yourself, and make 1 or 2 sacrifices. It will pay off in the end.
Thank you very much, Shaun. Our absolute pleasure having you on Caribbean Content Creators, and I enjoyed chatting with you. I apologize for blanking out on 2 occasions, and I look forward to editing this episode, because I have the opportunity then to all those golden nuggets that you were giving off, that I could just replay it over and over in my head. So thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Pleasure for being here.